All right. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, it's May 9th, and we're here at the Congregation of Yahweh observing our general Sabbath service, and this is a wonderful thing. Today we're going to be talking more about kingdom culture. Ain't that awesome? All right, we just sung praise to our King, so this is a wonderful thing. So just going back over some of the things that we've gone through. This will be quick. All right. Our society is led by a king. Okay, we're just singing his praises. That makes what we're a part of a kingdom. Yah is our king. Yah has set the norms of conduct and the standard forms of communication for his kingdom, because that's what kings do. They rule over stuff. They make decisions. All right. In Yah's kingdom, the code of conduct is Torah. So we observe Torah, or at least are pursuant to it as much as we're able to fulfill what it says, being out of the land and not in our possession. The other part is the language, the setting the standard forms of communication. Standard form of communication for the kingdom is Hebrew. All right. So going back over it, customary beliefs. All right. So when you talk about culture, you're talking about customary beliefs. You're talking about values. You're talking about way of life. And that's what we are setting to establish, the way of life that Yah has given to us. When you're talking about culture, you're also talking about the idea of tillage and cultivation and growth. All right, so we've gone over all those things so far. All right, language. Language are words, their pronunciation, the methods of combining them and used and understood by a community. So in America, we speak English. It is the standard language because everybody speaks that language. Even if you come from other lands, you're going to have to deal with English. You can't stay here and be a fully functioning part of the community without really knowing English. All right? Did I lose my mouse? I think it's just moving too fast. There it is. All right, so the word language basically is derived from the French word for tongue. All right? So we're talking about what language is. That's in English. Let's see if I can get this thing to show something. I want you guys to know technology is a wonderful thing when it works. All right, so every government has an official language. United States is among them. Of course, our kingdom has an official language, and that language is Hebrew, or as we call it, Hebrew in English. All right, the true name is Ivri. All right, this is a Hey, an Ayin, a Bet, a Resh, and a Yud. Now, when we talked about Eber or Iber, if you notice, the middle part of this is the Ayin, Bet, Resh. So that would be the Iber part. But if we look in the front, we have a Hey and we have a Yud. So just like in English, we can derive additional meaning for a word by adding prefixes and suffixes. So that's what we see here. Not going to go a lot into that, but I did want to make sure that I mentioned that. All right, so the word Iber means one who crossed over. All right, and the first person that we know of that was called a Hebrew, although it's derived from his great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, we know that Abraham was called a Hebrew. All right. So basically, it's denoting someone that in one of two situations was either a descendant of Eber, or one who was taught by Eber. You don't become a Hebrew just through your lineage. It comes by following the concepts and precepts. All right? How did I get way back up there? All right. So Eber was a son of Shem. And we went through the genealogy a little bit. This is a picture that shows the lineage of the Messiah through the ages. I have this book. If anybody wants to see it at some point, just let me know. Now, if we zoom on here, we see going from Adam all the way to Noah. And then from Noah, well, let's go back up. We have Ham, we have Shem, and we have Japheth. All right? So Shem had several sons, and Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. Well, Aram is where we get the Aramaic language from. Okay? So Ivrit, Hebrew, came from the people who were of the line of Eber. All right, any questions so far? I know I went over that fast, but I'm just recapping, so it shouldn't be too bad. All right, so here we have that lineage to show the relative lengths of how long these people lived. We have Noah being born several hundred years before the flood, Shem being born maybe about 100 years before the flood, and then living another 500 years after the flood. Then we see Arphaxad, Selah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Serug, Nahor, Terah, all the way down to Abraham. All right, if you notice on here, you can see easily that Shem outlived Abram. And he was able to meet all of his sons. All right. Another thing that's, I don't have a scripture to back this up. Okay, I don't have a scripture to back this up, so I'm just going to say I don't have a scripture to back this up, right? It is believed that Shem was Melchizedek that Abram paid tithes to, the king of righteousness. Because Melchizedek is really a title. It's not actually the name of a person. It means king of righteousness. And it's believed, and the book of Jasher would bear this out, that Shem actually taught all of the righteous people of that generation to be righteous, and that's how they got the term Hebrew, coming from Eber, because Eber followed Shem, and Shem taught all the righteous people in the land up until the time that he died. All right. Any questions so far?
Actually, I do have a question.
Yeah, what you got?
This might be a crazy question.
No.
Okay, when Hebrew came, the Arabic language, did it come at the same exact time, or did the Arabic language come later?
Well, okay, so up until the time of Peleg, because Peleg had a brother, all right? It means divided. His name meant divided. It was at the time of Peleg that Yah came down and divided all the languages. Up until that point, everybody spoke the same language. So it says that he came down, he saw them building the tower, and he confounded or basically split up all the languages. And it was basically split up by families. So as we see here, Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth.
Gotcha.
There were basically, even in linguistics today, there are basically 3 branches of all the languages in the world. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then after that, they're subdivided further by family. So, like I said, Eber had a language, Aram had a language. The Mitzrayimites, which would be children of Ham, they had their own language. Okay, so it said that at that time, no one could understand each other, and that's what forced them to stop the building, because they were no longer able to communicate to the point of where they could get anything done together. All right.
Is that the reason why, like the Quran book, basically, that basically pretty much says that the Torah is the truth, basically, of the Quran Bible?
Well, a lot of what's written in the Quran is they have a lot of the history of what happened in that part of the world. So they recognize Abram, they recognize Isaac, they recognize Jacob, but they realize that the line that they're following really came through Ishmael. So we already know Ishmael was circumcised. He was a part of this covenant, but he was not of the line of the Messiah.
Yeah, what I understand about that Bible is they believe that I guess Noah and all was a true prophet, basically. That's the reason they believed in him.
Well, yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He was. Yah spoke to him.
You can actually get saved through the Quran because it
Really?
does talk about.
Yeah, I'm just now starting to learn a little bit about it. So
Because there's been a lot of Arabs that have gotten
Yeah.
saved through it.
Yeah. They believe, the thing about Quran is they believe Messiah was a prophet, not necessarily the son of Yah. And that's kind of where that break comes. All right, so last time we talked a little bit about the mouth. So that's why this one is called 4b. So last time was 4, this is 4b. So this is a mouth with some of the parts. This is a sagittal, meaning it's a cut through what a man would look like if you were to look at his facial area. All right, let's go to Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 9. Well, I'm already 11 minutes into this. This is going to be hard. All right, everybody got Zephaniah chapter 3 up? All right. Now this is in the scriptures. It says, "For I shall turn unto the people a clean lip," meaning languages, "so that they shall call on the name of Yah to serve him with one shoulder." Now, the TS is kind of a literalish kind of translation, so it's hard to understand. So obviously when it's talking about lip, it's talking about language. Now, as far as shoulder, it's talking about the area, including the neck, that's between the shoulders, where burdens are normally held. So with one burden, with one effort, would be the best way to talk about what this word means. All right? Now here, I brought this, and everybody can't see this, and it's unfortunate, but this is a interlinear version of the same text. You see there's the Hebrew, there's the Strong's number, and then there's the word that they translate it to. All right? So in this particular one, you'll even see Zephaniah with the TS. It's using the Sadiq is the name of that character in Hebrew. "For then will I turn to the people language up here, call that they may all upon the name of the Lord to serve, consent him with one." If you were to read this in Hebrew, this is the order that these words show up in the Hebrew language. Okay, this is straight Hebrew. I already know you can't understand that, so let's go back to this one. All right, so Hebrew has its own syntax and the way that the words are put together so that they make sense. All right, so basically instead of using the word shoulder, it uses consent, but it's basically with one effort to serve him. Any questions? All right, so the word that I want to clue in on this is called saf, okay? But if you want to make it plural, like for example, if you have Sabbath, if you want to make Sabbath plural, you add ot to the end. Sabaoth would mean more than one Sabbath. If you have the feast days, okay, or the commandments, we add oath. If you notice the difference, the first part of the word will be the same, and you add oath to the end, it makes it plural in Hebrew. All right, so that's the difference between these two. Now, when it's talking about lip, Hebrew is a very literal, they use concrete words to describe things. So when it's talking about the lip, it's talking about the end of the mouth. But it could also be used like the banks of a river. It shows where the edge of a river is. It's the same word. All right, we also have another word where it uses the word clean, a clean language, a clean lip. It doesn't mean in the standard of I'm going to wash your mouth out with soap. Okay? It's not talking about that clean. It's talking about clarify, to make apparent, easy to be understood, something clear, something polished. So he's going to return to us a clear language. And that's the language that we're going to speak when Yeshua comes down. All right, so let's go to, this is Zechariah chapter 8, verse 20 through 23. Thus says Yah of hosts, people shall yet come, inhabitants of many cities, and the inhabitants of inhabitants of the one go to the other, saying, let us earnestly go and pray before Yah and seek Yah of hosts. I myself am going, and many peoples and strong nations shall come and seek Yah of hosts in Jerusalem, and to pray before Yah. Thus says Yah of hosts, in those days. Let's see. All right, I'll keep reading. Thus says Yah of hosts, in those days 10 men from all languages of all nations shall take hold, yes, they shall take hold the edge of the garment of a man, a Yahudi, saying, let us go with you, for we have heard that Elohim is with you. So it's talking here about people who do not speak the language of the Yahudi, which would be the Jews today, coming to someone who does know the language and saying, let us go with you because you know how to speak and you can speak on our behalf. All right, let's see if I can get this cleared up. All right, lost my mouse. Okay, so technical difficulties. All right, so let's go to Zechariah chapter 4, verse 9. And Yah shall be sovereign over all the earth. In that day there shall be one Yah, and his name one. You know, especially in the groups that we kind of go in, right? We all have a particular name that we want to call our Father. Some may call him God. Some might call him Yah. Some might call him Yahweh or Yahu, okay, Yahuwah, all right? But it's saying that there is going to be a day coming. Obviously, that's not this day here that we're in, where Yah will be the sovereign. We're talking the kingdom of Yah. This is our major topic. And in that day, everybody's going to know that there's only one, and we're all going to call him by the same name. There's some areas that we can still work on and clarify on. And we don't need to let that particular item be something that divides us, knowing that at a future time, he is promising here, he's going to set it straight. We're all going to call him by the same name, whatever that name happens to be. Even though we may think we know what it is right now, let's wait and let's let him tell us. Okay, we can have speculation. None of us were around during the time of Moses to hear exactly what was said. And because of that, we need to cut each other some slack. All right? Judges chapter 12, verse 1 through 6. Now, this is to show you that as I'm talking about language, there's two types of differences I'm going to kind of bring up. One is a linguistic difference, meaning the difference between Spanish and Swahili. You're going to have one word and the way it sounds in Spanish, and you're going to have a completely different sound of the same meaning in Swahili. If you don't understand Swahili, you're not going to know what that is. I don't speak Swahili. Okay, I speak very little Spanish, so I'm not going to go into that one either. But it's okay. If we use titles, for example, Lord, Master, even the word God is a title. It is not a name. It is improper in King James when they take Yah's name and put Lord there or put God. because they instead of taking the name, they're not translating it, they're putting a title in its place, which is improper, all right? So let's go to, and the other type of change is one that I call dialectic. Tomato, okay? You might be from Chicago, you might be from the Midwest, you might be from New Orleans where it's completely different, but we have the same language, but it's different ways of pronunciation, different ways of even using certain words, but it's all English. So when I say it's a dialectic difference, it just means they just do it a little different, and it's okay. When I talk about a linguistic difference, in some cases it's good, in some cases it's not. Okay, Judges chapter 4, verse 1 through 12, and I'm going to end it here even though I got more. And the men of Ephraim gathered together and passed towards Saphon, and said to Jephthah, this is Jephthah, why did you pass over to fight against the children of Ammon and did not call us to go with you? We are going to burn your house over you with fire. And Jephthah said to them, my people and I were in a great struggle with the children of Ammon, and when I called you, you did not save me from their hands. And I saw that you would not save me, and then I took my life in my hands, and I went over against the children of Ammon, and Yah gave them into my hand. And why have you come up to me today to fight against me? Judges chapter 12, verse 1 through. I'm sorry, Judges chapter 12, verse 1 through 4, 1 through 6, 1 through 6. Jephthah then gathered together all the men of Gilead and fought against Ephraim. So this is children of Israel fighting against each other. All right. Jephthah was of Judah, whereas the Ephraimites were obviously of Ephraim. So this was after the kingdom of Israel had been split. So you had Judah, which was the southern kingdom. You had Ephraim, which was the northern kingdom. Because they said, you Gileadites are fugitives of Ephraim, in the midst of Ephraim, in the midst of Manasseh. And Gilead captured the fords of the Yarden, that's the Jordan River, that face Ephraim. And it came to be, when the fugitives from the land of Ephraim said, let me pass over, the men of Gilead said to him, are you an Ephraimite? And he said, no. Then they would say to him, please say Shibboleth. And he would say Sibboleth, for he was unable to pronounce it right. Then they seized him and slew him at the fords of Yarden, and at that time there fell 42,000 Ephraimites. So we have two groups of people speaking Hebrew, but because it was dialectic, because there's such a small difference between Shibboleth and Sibboleth, the Ephraimites, for whatever reason, they couldn't do that SH sound. And because of it, a distinction was made between Israelites. So that means that the tribes amongst themselves all spoke Hebrew, but there were slight differences and variations in the way they did it, just like here in the United States. Very same thing. So as I'm going through language, I'm going to pick out what is dialectic and what is linguistic as far as differences, but it's okay. It's still all the Hebrew language. All right, let me see how much time I got, which probably nothing. Yeah, that's 25 minutes. I'm going to stop there. Yahweh bless.
God, we want more.
Next time.